right, welcome back to the last section of Chapter 8 with Perpetual Inventory. This time we're going to be looking at the very last costing method that I'm teaching for this class is going to be moving average, okay? The concept of average costing is the same with periodic inventory, okay? Only difference is, why is it called moving average instead of weighted average? It's just because the way that we actually calculate our average is where it's going to differ. Instead of waiting to the very end of the accounting period to calculate our average, for moving average, we're constantly calculating the average, hence the word of moving average. But overall, the general idea is the same. So again, I've mentioned this before too. Whether you refer it as weighted or moving average, at the end of the day, it's still average costing, okay? Bottom line, it's average costing, okay? So let's go ahead and dive into what moving average method actually does, okay? So once again, here are the formulas that you will be looking at. Here is what's different, okay? You're still going to get those standard 3 formulas, right? Solving for the purchase price and solving for the total cost. The only difference between that third formula is, instead of calculating a cost per item, we are going to be now focusing on calculating the average cost per item. And in this case, which is going to be your total cost divided by your total quantity, right? We've seen this before with our periodic inventory. The only difference is that this formula, the average cost per item, is going to be constantly calculated every single time we make a purchase and every single time we sell our items, okay? So this average cost per item plays a very, very key role in this type of method, right? Because we're going to be constantly calculating our average cost per item, okay? We already know what our goods available is going to be. It's going to be in our inventory on hand section where we're tallying up our totals, okay? And that's also going to be what your ending inventory is going to be as well. And then, of course, our cost of goods sold, right? We've seen it before. You're just going to simply calculate it on one of the columns, right? Quantity times the cost per item, right? So let's dive into our first example here, where on June 1st, we end up purchasing 100 toys at $1.25 with the freight costing you $25, okay? So here you go, back to our table. We're going to plug it into our purchases area. Purchase price, again, 100 at $1.25 is going to give you 125, plus freight is going to give you a total cost of 150. Now, for this very, 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 very first batch of inventory, right? You only have one batch of inventory. So in this case, my assumption is my average cost is going to be for this just one item here because that's what I have available. If I do not make any purchases here on out, then I'm safe to assume that me calculating the average cost for this batch of inventory is because I don't have any other batches of inventory that I need to combine. So in this idea, I'm going to go ahead and solve for what my average cost per item is for this first batch, which we already know to be $1.50. Okay? So then on June 3rd, we end up selling 55 toys. So therefore, we need to solve for the cost of goods sold. Here, because we only have one batch of inventory, then we already assume and we already know we're going to be taking out from this batch here. We sold 55, so that means 55 at my average cost per item right now, which is $1.50, right? I'm going to take that $1.50, put it there, and calculate what that total is, which gives me $82.50. So from there, what do? I subtract it out, and I'm going to get a remainder of 45 units at a grand total of $67.50, which is still $1.50. Okay? But then what happens is that on June 5th, we end up purchasing an additional 100 toys at $1.28 with a freight of 26. So this is where I'm going to plug my numbers in, okay? I just purchased 100 units, okay? And it's currently at $1.28, so it's going to be 128 plus 26 is going to give me a total cost of $1.54. Now, this is where we need to stop here because now this is what I have to do to calculate my average cost per item. I don't solve for my cost per item for this batch unless you want to, but in this case, what I'm going to do is, because I'm dealing with an average, I need to combine those two batches together to give me my total cost with my total quantity. Okay, so in this case, my total cost is $221.50, and my total number of units is going to be 145. Now, this is where I'm going to, after combining the two together, this is now where I need to solve for my average cost per item. So I'm going to take my $221.50, divide it by 145 to get me my average cost of $1.5275. Okay? So here is what's important is that now I just purchased more inventory. I need to combine the two because I don't care which batch came first. I don't care which batch came last. I care about spreading the total cost evenly amongst my total quantity that I have available on hand. So that's the idea here is when I purchase, I combine. When I subtract, right? So in this case, now my new average cost per item has increased to $1.5275, okay? And we talked about this, right? Even if I were to calculate my average cost, my cost per item for each separate batch, right? My first batch is at $1.50. My second batch would be at $1.54. What's in the middle between the two? Well, it'd be $1.52, right? So that's exactly what's going on here is now I'm solving for my average cost per item every single time I make a purchase. Okay? So then on June 10, I end up purchasing an additional 100 toys at $1.30 with a freight of 27. So in this case, new batch of inventory. So I'm going to solve for that. It's 130 for my purchase price plus 27 is going to give me 157. But I do not solve for my cost per item here. I have to add up all the goods I have available. So right now I have 245 units because I started it out with 145 plus 100 is going to give me 245. And my new total cost is $378.50. And what do I need to do now? I need to recalculate because now I have a new batch of inventory, a new something that's increasing my quantity and my total cost. So in this case, I need to recalculate my average cost per item, and now I am at $1.5448. Okay, and that means, right? I didn't care what batch came first, batch came last. I care about just adding them up together to get my average cost per item. Okay. So then, next thing is that on June 12th, we end up selling 120 toys. So in this case, straightforward, right? I take my 120, right? Because I don't care which batch came first, which batch came last. All I care about is taking out the total amount of quantity that I have that I sold, right? And figuring out how much each item cost me. In this case, on average, each one cost me $1.5448. So in this case, I'm going to take my average cost per item, plug it in here, and get me my total cost of goods sold. So in this case, that's going to give me a total of $185.39. And what do? I subtract it out to get me my new quantity available is going to be now 125 units available at $193.11. Okay? And that's the ending balance of my inventory anyway, right? So in this case, right, and then of course, I just want to make sure that when I do when I do sell my items, that because my total cost and quantity has decreased, I also have to calculate my average cost per item because it can change by 10,000th of a penny. Okay, and I'll show you an example in a second. Okay. Okay. So that was the very first section here. Okay. Now let's see what happens when I have beginning inventory. Okay. If I have beginning inventory, what happens? Well, in this case, right, we were also given that on June 15, we should have had 125 toys available at $193.11. This one's so simple and easy because all you have to do is carry your total amounts over into the inventory worksheet. So in this case, I have 125 units available at $193.11. Straightforward. And we already know what the average cost for that is. It's 1.5448, right? So in that case, that's all I have to do. I just have to carry what I had left over remaining because my ending balance becomes my beginning balance. And then I start out my inventory worksheet with that 125 units ready to sell. So that means on June 18, you end up selling that 90 units. Well, there's only one batch I'm looking at, one batch only. So in this case, I take my 90, I multiply it by my average cost per item, which is going to be that 15448, and that's going to give me a total of $139.04. So what do? Subtract it out, and now I have an ending balance remaining on my inventory for 35 units at a grand total of $54.07. Okay. And of course, I also calculate my average cost just to make sure that my amount did not change. So in this case, it did not change. Okay. So then on June 21st, we end up purchasing 100 toys for $1.32 with a freight of 26. So we plug in our numbers here, get 132 plus 26 to give you a total of 158. And once again, because I have new inventory, right, I need to add up my totals. So now I have a total of 135 units available at a total cost of $212.07. And I need to now recalculate my average cost. In this case, it is 1.5708. Okay. And then, excuse me. And then, of course, on June 25th, we end up purchasing an additional 100 toys for $1.35. So this is what I'm left with, right? I'm going to add in my 135 plus 27 to give me 162. And of course, once again, I need to recalculate my average cost once again by tallying up my total. So now I have a total goods available to sell, 235 units at a grand total of $374.07 at an average cost. So in this case, it's going to cost me, for every item I sell, it's going to cost me $1.5917. Okay? Right? So let's see what happens next. If June 27, we end up selling 120 units, okay? 120 units, right? Because this is so simple and easy, right? All we have to do is just take my total that I sold and calculate what the average cost is. In this case, $1.5917, and that's going to give me a total of $191.01. So in that case, what do? I simply subtract it out and calculate my grand total. So I have a total of 115 at a grand total cost of $183.06. And if I recalculate my average cost here, now this is what I mean by every single time you sell something or every single time you purchase something, you're constantly calculating the average cost per item. In this case, my average cost per item for this time after selling caused my cost per item to shift by 1/1000th of a penny. It increased. It's now 1.5918 instead of 7. Because again, we're using rounded numbers. It's much more difficult to figure out the average cost per item, and it will fluctuate because we're using rounded numbers. Okay, right? My cost of goods sold is what's causing my total goods available to be shortened and spread across the total quantity here. So in this case, it dropped or it increased by 1/1000th of a penny. Or no, in this case, 100th of a penny, excuse me, okay? So now that we are done with this one, right? Let's see what happens next. We end up selling our last 65 toys to give us a total remaining of 50. So in this case, I sold 65 at $1.5918, and that's going to give me my total of $103.47. I subtracted out. So I have a total remaining ending balance of 50 units at a total of $79.59, which then my average cost per item is now consistent at $59.18. Okay. All right. And again, solve for your totals, and that is how I do average costing. This one by far is going to be the most easiest one, most simplest one, because all you are constantly doing is just adding, subtracting, and calculating the average cost. You don't have to worry about what batch came first, what batch came last, which one. You don't have to color code anything because you're not keeping track of every single individual purchase that you've made. In this case, you're just combining all of them in grand total and just solving for what each item would cost you in general, but on the average. Any questions here? Yes.
So every time the quantity of the inventory changes, we are recalculating the average cost. Is that the good way to look at it?
Correct.
Whether it's increasing or decreasing. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. And then I know you rounded it. So every time we recalculate the average cost, um, we ended up using a lambda formula to calculate the total cost.
That is for only the cost of goods sold.
Okay.
Not for the inventory on hand to figure out the average cost. Now, in here, because it's a PowerPoint, I can't display that many numbers. So
yeah.
In this case, yes, in this example, I did use rounded numbers because I did use 0.17 versus 0.18. Yes, but that's just to show you that every single time you calculate it, it's not going to stay the same.
Okay.
Even if you didn't purchase anything, the more you keep subtracting it, that number may change by 1/100th of a penny, 1/10th of a penny. It can change that much. And if you're selling 10 items, you already lost a penny right there. Does that make sense? So, again, rounding, you don't round your average cost. You round the end answer when you solve for your cost of goods sold.
Okay. So good rule of thumb is to round up only when we are calculating the cost of goods sold.
Correct.
When we are recalculating average cost, we just leave it with that 6 decimal.
Correct. Six to get the most accurate answer for your cost of goods sold. But if you're using Excel, leave it how many decimal places it says it is.
Okay.
Okay. So if it goes on for like 100 numbers, leave it.
Yeah.
Okay. Or again, if you're using Excel or even for the calculator itself, right? If you just calculate the average cost by taking your total cost divided by your total quantity, right? Then on your calculator, it will go on and on and on and on and on. If you leave that in your calculator and then just go proceed to the next one and just type in times at whatever the quantity is, that will also give you that same idea as well. Okay,
Okay.
just in case that you're not using Excel and you're using a calculator, that would be also the second option you can do as well. But if you are punching everything in, best rule of thumb is at least 6 digits after the decimal point to get you the most accurate answer.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So, chapter review, right? We talked about the 3 costing methods in this class, right? We talked about how FIFO works, right? In this case, when we're dealing with perpetual inventory for FIFO, we're looking at our batches of inventory that we purchase, right? And every single time we purchase something, right, we're constantly updating our inventory as we go. And every time we sold something, we're constantly eliminating from top to bottom. We are starting from the top and making our slowly way down to the bottom. Okay? But for LIFO, this situation is kind of different because you're starting over from the bottom every single time you make a purchase, right? Every time you make a purchase, that means you're recalculating everything starting from the bottom, and you slowly make your way up to the top. Okay? And then, of course, lastly, we talked about moving average, where you're constantly calculating the average cost everywhere you go, whether you make a purchase, whether you sold, because at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is you're trying to figure out what your average cost per item is and not focusing on which batch came first, which batch came last. Okay? So that's the idea here. All right? So let's dive into our in-class exercise. Okay, so this is what I'm going to show you how to do it. This is just the way that I do it. I find it the most easiest way to understand. Again, this one will be the easiest to understand, but how I am showing you is going to also be an easier way to do, instead of doing it on your own and figuring out whether you want to use colors or not. This one eliminates using colors. I'm only going to use one color, right? And that's to black out a lot of the numbers that you see on here because I'm going to be self-referencing, okay? So for moving average, let's go ahead and take a look here. Number 1, your inventory method is perpetual, and it is moving average. So again, on May 5th, we end up purchasing 1,000 units at $3 each on an account with the freight cost of $100. Okay? So again, same exact scenario, but this one will be very, very, very different because we're constantly calculating every single time that we have a transaction. So this is not any more or less the same as what we've done for the past 2 days. This one's going to be completely different. Okay? All right. So, right, May 5th, right, we're going to skip over the cost of goods sold. We just purchased 1,000 units at $3 each with the freight of 100. So, in this case, what is my total purchase price?
It's 3,000.
It's 3,000. Okay? Plus 100.
It is 3,100.
3,100. So right now, what is currently my average cost per item?
3.1.
Right? $3.10. Now, this is where I'm going to be using the inventory on hand worksheet, right? I am going to be copying over my quantity, okay, and my total cost, okay? Why? Because these are the numbers that are going to be constantly changing. My quantity is going to change all the time. My total cost is going to be constantly changing all the time. So where do I want to put the formula? The formula is going to be in your cost per item column because this is what I'm going to tell you to do. Since the goal is to constantly calculate over and over and over again the average cost per item for every single time you make a purchase and every time you sell something, that is the row I'm going to be putting my formula in. I want this to be automated so then I don't ever have to punch in this formula every single time. I can just pop in the formula. So right now it's currently telling me it's at 310. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that formula all the way down. Okay. Right now it's saying you have an error. That's because we don't have any of the numbers filled in yet. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to display. Okay. I want to highlight you and I'm going to, I want it to display at least, yeah, there you go. 6 decimal places, right? So you can see how the average is going to move along every single time we purchase and every time we sell, okay? So that's what I want to do. That means every time I put a new quantity in here and every time I put a new total cost in here, it's going to calculate the average cost for me, okay? So there you go. There's my first transaction there is I purchased inventory, okay? So then let's see what happened next. Okay. May 7, we end up selling 550 units at $10 each. Okay, we sold 550 units. Okay, so May 7, we sold 550 units. Right now, my current average cost per item is that $3.10. Okay, so then what is that going? What grand total am I going to get here?
$1,705.
Good, right? $1,705. Now, again, I'm going to eliminate using the space in the middle, right? Because we practiced this yesterday, right? I can take these numbers and take it directly out from my inventory on hand. So instead of having to fix these numbers here, this is what I'm going to tell you to do. So I'm going to go ahead and go straight into this quantity from that very row. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a formula in here, right? I'm going to say I need to know what 1,000 is, right? So 1,000 units minus my 550, right? And that's going to give me my quantity of 450, okay? And then I'm also going to do the same thing with my total cost here. Okay, because right now my total cost, let me go ahead and make this 2 decimal places. Okay, and let me put that back real quick. Okay, and so then so right now I am at 450, right? I'm also going to plug in that I need to know what that $3,100 is minus that 1,705, right? And that's going to give me my new total cost of $13.95, right? I know that for a fact. So this is what I'm going to do. Now that I've already know that after subtracting this number out, I only have 450 items available at $13.95. I know that, right? So this is what I'm going to do. Because I'm not eliminating my numbers in the rows because I use cell referencing, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to block this off so I can't see it. Now, how would you do that? There's 2 ways you could use, changing the font color, or I'm going to go ahead and actually black it out. Okay? I'm going to cross it out so I don't ever see it. Why? The crucial thing about this is you definitely don't want to accidentally hit the wrong number, right? I don't want to accidentally hit the wrong average cost per item. In this case, by doing this, I eliminate myself from doing that because then I can focus on what number I'm supposed to be grabbing the number from. So in this case, right now, after calculating that, it already tells me, well, my average cost per item is still $3.10. Okay? So that's what I want you to do. So let's go ahead and see what happens when we make a purchase or sell more items in this case, okay? All right, so let's see. Next one I have here is that on May 10, we end up purchasing 850 units at $3.25 with a freight of 75. Okay, so let's see. May 10. Okay, We purchased 850 units at $325 with a freight of $75. So therefore, what's my total purchase price here?
$2,762.50.
Okay, plus my freight of 75.
2,837.50.
Okay, so if you guys remember, right, I am not going to solve for my cost per item here, right, because I just purchased new quantity. So therefore, this row here, what am I going to do? I'm actually going to start calculating what is the grand total between the two. So what is 450 plus the new purchase of inventory of that 850?
$1,300.
1,300. Now let's solve for my total cost. What is my $1,395 plus my new purchase of $2,837.50?
It's at 4,232.
Good.
And 50
4,002.
cents.
Mm-hmm. And look at that, right? Because I put my formula in here, it's telling me right now, if I double click on it, it's telling me it's taking that $4,232.50 and it's dividing it amongst that 1,300 units. And it's going to give me an average cost per item of $3.255769. Now, this is what I mean by constantly calculating every time we make a purchase, every time we make a sale. And this is where we actually are going to actually see how my average cost per item is either increasing or decreasing due to whatever the situation is, whether I'm purchasing and increasing my inventory or whether I'm decreasing and selling my inventory, okay? And what I want you to do is this is a reference point too. So you can kind of see where the trend and what's going on, right? And what do I need to do now? I need to block off this one because now I no longer have that 450 units anymore, right? I now have 1,300 and it's now going to cost me an average per item to be $3.25 yada yada yada, right? So that's what I'm focusing on. So if I were to unveil the rest of the numbers, I can actually see how my inventory grows and how it decreases and how my average fluctuates as well. Okay? And that's what I want you to do for the rest of the next scenarios here is that's what we do. We're going to constantly be updating, constantly recalculating my average cost per item. Okay? So that was that one right there. So let's see what happened next. Right? We end up selling 360 units at $10 each. So 360 on May 12th. May 12th, 360, right? Right now, my average cost per item is 3.255769. Okay? So what is now going to be my total cost of goods sold? So this is where I have to plug in my equal round to give me my rounded answer. Okay? What's my total cost of goods sold if I sold 360 units at $3.255769?
I have $1,172.08.
Very good. Okay? 1,172.08. So what am I going to do? I'm going to update my inventory now, right? I used to have 1,300, but I sold 360. So how much should I have left?
$940.
940. Okay. All right.
And then
Go ahead.
total left. Total inventory $3,060.42.
Good. Now watch this. Look, my average cost has now dropped by this is, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 1,000th of a penny. In this case, 3,000th of a penny, right? It went from 769 to 766. And this is why I'm telling you now, it is also very important that you recalculate your average cost per item, because that means when you calculate your cost of goods sold, if you were to potentially, right, hypothetically, sell 10,000 units, that is one whole penny that you are, well, in this case, it's 3, right? That's 3 whole pennies that you were luck out on that sale. Okay, that may not be that much, but again, your focus here, right? When you purchase your inventories, you're not just gonna only purchase 1,000 and sell 1,000. Your business will never profit. Okay, you're constantly selling your inventory. You're gonna be constantly purchasing thousands and thousands of your inventory. Okay. All right, so there you go. Now that I have this, right now I have available 940 units. Okay, so then let's see what happened next. Okay, it is now May 15, and you sold 600 units at $10 each. Okay, so 600 is your number here. Okay, so we sold on May 15, 600 units. Okay, right now, my average cost, right, is that number, except, you're missing 3, it dropped significantly. It dropped 3,000th of a penny. So in this case, what is my new cost of goods sold here? For selling 600 units at 3.255766.
Mine didn't change to 6. It stayed at 9. So
Did you recalculate that?
I did. I divided $3,060.42 divided by 940, and then I still got 3,25576.
Okay, my question is, is this a formula or is this not a formula?
It is a formula.
Did you do equal round on your cost of goods sold?
Yes, but the cost per unit item didn't change for me. Yours went from 6.9 to 6.6. Mine stayed 6.9.
That's why I'm asking you. How did you get this number? The 3,660.42. Did you punch that in or did you calculate it?
I did the formula. I added the sum
That is
from
where.
what we had.
What do you
I'll
mean?
figure it out.
What do you mean you added the sum?
So when we received, we had 450 unit left from previous shipment, and then we added 850, and then we got 1,300, and then we sold 360 at the cost of 3.255769, and then I got the same total with yours, but when we got the cost per item after selling that 360 unit, the sum and the quantity on hand are the same, but some of these cost of item came different.
Okay. The reason why I say this specifically is because if you're not constantly putting in a rounded number, right here, this number would be unrounded on the on the inventory on hand. That's why it's causing you to get those numbers that are not matching mine. Make sense?
Okay.
So even if you were to calculate it right here, either on your calculator or whatever, right? If you
Yeah.
do 360, 42, I type that in and I'm going to divide that by 940. It should be
Yeah.
that 66. But let's
Yeah.
say whatever, I don't know how you got that number, but if this side was not rounded and you did not cell reference this, that is
Yeah.
the reason why you're going to get that number off, because you're leaving this section here to be unrounded.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes, because
Okay.
if let's say, like, for the instance, right?
Yeah.
What was the problem that we were on? This one, right? If you chose not to round this number, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, actually, wrong cell, sorry. If you chose to not round this number, right? And let's say we just multiplied it, on your screen it will show
Yeah.
you this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. We're talking about the previous one, so let me unhighlight that so I can see what that is. Okay, if you were to unround this number here, right?
Yeah.
So you take your 360, you multiply it like this, right? If you chose not to round this, it shows me that it's 8 cents. But if I were to pull this number out and actually show you, right, what it actually is, it's telling you it's 0.769231, right? And if you were to
Yeah.
take this and subtract it from this, which is a rounded number, that's what's going to
Yeah.
cause you your discrepancy.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes, because this
I
number's not rounded. But you said you did do it, so it could be a typo error, or I don't know what formula you're doing on your
no,
end.
I didn't subtract the rounded number. So you are saying that once we get the cost of goods sold, we should use that rounded number to subtract from the um,
Yes,
inventory on hand. Okay, gotcha.
correct. Because if not, your numbers are gonna be a little more off than mine. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yes. Was there another question?
No, that was it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So there you go. Okay. So I'm gonna clear this so we don't have that number there. Want to make sure. Okay. So I'm gonna hide this because um, I don't have this number anymore, right? I want to block it off so I don't accidentally select the wrong number, okay? And in this case, I kind of gave you the answer to this one already. So in this case, if I sold 600 units at that 3.255766, right? What is going to be my total cost of goods sold? In this case, it's going to give me 1953.46. So I gotta take this because this number is rounded, right? If I were to pull this out, it's 0.0000 after that. So now I need to figure out what my new quantity is if I sold 600 units. So take my 940, subtract 600, I should have 340 left. Okay. Excel's trying to be smart and I can't override it. So in this case, we'll override that in a minute, okay? So this is subtracting this number, right? And we should get 1106.96, right? So in this case, it dropped my penny, my 10,000th, 1,000th of a penny again. It dropped by 1, okay? So there you go, and we can eliminate this because we no longer have it, okay? So then let's see what happened next, okay? So what happened next was on May 20th, we end up purchasing 300 units at $3.50 with a freight of 20. Okay, so 300, 350 at $20. Okay, so here, May 20th, 300 at 350 with a freight of 20. So in this case, purchase price
$1,050.
Plus 20.
1,070.
Oh, wait. I don't know what I'm doing. Sorry. There you go. 1,070. So that's going to bring my total quantity to be
640.
okay. I think I know what I gotta do. I think I gotta delete these because it's not working for me. Oh my gosh. It keeps telling me 940. That's not what I want. So why can I not do? What was it? 940 plus 3. Sorry. 340 plus 300.
Yes.
Okay. And let's see what my total is here. So 1,106.96 plus my 1070. What do I get?
$3,176.96.
Okay, so that should give you my average cost to be $3 40,015,000. Okay. Okay. All right. So therefore, I can go ahead and hide this. Okay. And let me go ahead and see what happened next. Okay. So after making that purchase of 300, we end up selling 450 units on May 22nd. 450 units on May 22nd. So here I sold 450. My average cost per item right now is currently at $3.40.15. Okay, so what is my total cost of goods sold here?
I have $1,530.68.
Good. So let's go ahead and subtract out my numbers. So if I sold 450 out of 640, how much should I have left?
190.
190. Good. And my, go ahead.
The balance is now $646.28.
Good. Giving me still an average cost. So here it dropped by 3/100th of a penny. Okay. It went from 3.4015 to 3.40147. Okay. And then cross this out because we no longer have this available. Okay. So let's see what else happened. Okay. So after that, selling that 450 units, I purchased 650 at 375 with the freight of 50. So 650, 375, and freight of 50 on May 25th. So 650 at 375 with the freight of 50. So in this case, what's my purchase price here?
I have $2,437.50.
Plus $50.
makes it to $2,487.50.
So in this case, what's my new quantity?
840 pieces.
We have 840 available, and my new total cost?
I have $3,133.78.
Good. So because I added and look at my cost per item, right? Or my unit cost, right? It increased by 25 cents. So every purchase I've made, it's been increased by 25 cents. So you can expect this, that if I'm making a purchase here, it has to increase my average cost per item at least by 10 cents, at least. And in this case, we went from 0.4 to 0.73. So in this case, we increased it by almost 30 cents because of my freight caused me to have to increase it more. So in this case, that is what is going to be true. Okay. So right now, I'm currently at $3.73 average cost per item. Okay. So then let's see what else happened. So last but not least, on May 27, we end up selling 740 units, leaving a remainder of, at the end of the month, to be 100 units left on hand. Okay, so we sold 740 on May 27th. 740. Okay, so in this case, how much is my average cost right now?
The $3.730690.
Okay, good. So we're going to calculate my cost of goods sold. So what is my cost of goods sold going to be?
I have $2,760.71.
Okay, so we need to update my inventory. If I started with 840 and I just sold 740, I should have 100 units left remaining, which is true because that was my ending balance at the end of May 31st. Okay. Now, what's my new total cost?
$373.07.
Yep. So that will leave you with 3.7307 even all the way. Okay? All right. So with that, and that concludes this one. So again, if I unveil this, right, like we've mentioned, right, you're going to see a bunch of numbers. So here, this is where you can keep track and see how your average cost per item either increases, decreases over your period of purchasing and selling. So in this case, we're slowly increasing, right? No matter how our inventory is fluctuating. But this is cool because you get to keep a track record of what is going on in your inventory on hand. Okay, I'm gonna hide that again. Okay, so now that we have 100 units remaining at 37307, okay, we can see what's gonna go happen to the next section here, right? Because now we are done with that inventory there. Okay, so then question number 2 says continue from above, okay? Your inventory method is still perpetual and it's still moving average. So hence, by looking at what we just did and constantly calculating it, we can see why it's called moving average, right? Because you're constantly calculating and you're seeing how it's changing every single time you purchase and every single time you sell. Okay? So here it tells you on May 31st, you had a total of 100 units on hand, which we know is true because that's what we saw for our previous worksheet, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 100 units and I'm going to carry it across to my new inventory on hand. So in this case, you could put the date here. This is May 31st, right? We had my total of 100 units at that 37307. Okay? Or you can copy it from the the inventory worksheet here. Okay. And what's going to happen is I'm going to reinitiate that formula so we can constantly see, we could constantly be having Excel calculate it for me, right? So right now it's 3.7303. Okay. In this case, I'm going to drag this formula down to copy and paste it all the way down here. And I just want to make sure that I get to see at least 6 decimal places. Okay. So there you go. I begin my inventory with the 100 units that I carry on from the previous month. So then June 5th rolls around and we end up purchasing 800 units at $4 each with a freight of 100. Okay, so June 5th, we purchased 800 units at $4 each with a freight of 100. So what is my total purchase price here?
$3,200.
3,200. Okay, plus 100.
3,300.
3,300. So then now I need to change my quantity because I increased it by 800 units. So I should have a grand total of
900.
900 with a grand total cost.
$3,673.03.
The 07.
Oh, it's all separate. Okay.
37307. Okay, so that's going to give me an average cost of $4.81189. Okay, and I'm going to hide this because I don't need to see this. Okay. Right, so next right here on June 7, we sold 350 units. Okay, average cost right now is that 40811. Okay, so then what is going to be my cost of goods sold?
$1,428.42.
Good. Do you say 48 cents?
$1,428.42.
Okay, I don't know what I did here. Yeah, good. Sorry. I must have made a typo somewhere. Okay, so there you go. 428.42. So I'm going to subtract that number out from my inventory, right? Because I had 900 units. I sold 350. So what's my new quantity?
550.
550. New total cost?
$3,244.65.
Good. So then my average cost, right, has dropped again by another 10,000th of a penny, or yeah, 10,000th of a penny. Okay. And then we can hide this. Okay. So let's see what happened next. June 10, we purchased 750 units at $4.25 each with a freight of 75. So 750, 425, 75 on June 10. So we purchased 750 at 425 with a freight of 75. So what's my purchase price here?
$3,187.50.
Total cost?
Oh. Wait, Maya. I have $3,262.50.
Good. So then let's add our new totals here. Okay. So we know how many goods available we have. So 550 plus 750 gives you 1,300. Okay, and then we have my leftover with 224465 plus my purchase of 3,262.50. Okay, giving me a grand total of 5,507.15, which will bring my new average cost to be 4.236269. Okay, so I can go ahead and eliminate that. Okay, so let's see what happened next. June 12th, we end up selling 450 units. June 12th, 450 units. So again, right now my average cost per item is that 4.236269. So in this case, what is my new total cost of goods sold? If I sold 450 units at 4.2362.
I have $2,118.13. Nope.
Well, say that again.
Oh. No, it's $1,906.32.
Yeah, good. Quite good. So then let's take that out from my inventory, right? Because I sold 450 units. So I should be having left remaining 850. Okay. And if I sold 1906.32, that should give me a leftover of 3,683 cents. Bringing my average cost, it increased now. It increased by 2/1000th of a penny. Okay. It went from 69 to 71. Okay. So then let's see what else happened next. June 15, you end up selling an additional 500 units this time. Okay. June 15, 500 units, average cost. So now, right, we just said that it was the 4.236271. Okay. So then what is going to be my total cost of goods sold if I sold my 500 units at that average cost per item?
$2,118.14.
Good. So let's take that out from my inventory. right? 850 minus 500 gives you 350. Okay. And this should give you an ending balance of $1,482.69 remaining. So in this case, let's see. Oh, my average has dropped by 20 something cents. Wow, that was a lot, right? Because we sold a lot and we ended up decreasing our total cost. Right? Okay, so let's see what happened next. So on June 20th, we end up purchasing 600 units at 405 with a freight of 20. 600, 405, and 20. Okay, so it's June 20th. We purchased 600 units at $4.05 with a freight of 20. Okay, so what is my purchase price?
$2,430.
Okay,
Make it
plus,
2450.
okay, so we got to add that to my inventory, right? So 350 plus 600, I just gave you the answer, is 950, okay? And then adding my total cost together should give you a grand total of $3,932.69, which will bring up your average. Oh, bring down my average cost. Oh, that's right, because when I purchased it, instead of paying $4.25, I end up paying $4.05. So that will definitely drop your average cost now because you paid significantly less per item for this batch of inventory you just purchased. So in this case, it dropped my average cost from $4.23 to $4.139674. So in this case, it dropped your average cost by exactly 10 cents. Okay. So then June 22nd, you end up selling 250 units. 250 units, right? So what's my cost of goods sold here?
$1,034.92.
Okay, we're going to subtract that out. Right, giving you 700 units left remaining. Okay, at a grand total cost of $2,008.9777. Okay. June 25th, we purchased 350 units at $4.35 each with a cost of $50 for freight, to $350, $435, and $50. So we got a expensive unit cost and expensive freight. So purchase price,
$1,522. Make it to $1,572.50.
Okay, so let's add that in. So you should get $10.50 available at a total cost of $4,470.27, which will bring up your average cost again up to $4.25740. Okay. Last transaction of the day says that on June 27, you sold 550 units, giving you a remainder at the end of the month of June to have 500 units left on hand. Okay? So, June 27, we sold 550 units at that 4.25. Okay. So, what is my total cost of goods sold here?
$2,341.57.
Oh, I guess I did it again. Okay, good. So let's subtract it out. After I sold the 550 units, I have 500 units left remaining, which matches what the inventory at the end of the month said it would be. Right? And if you subtract it out, you should get an ending balance in your total cost to be $2,128.70. So then that will still keep your average cost to be the same exact number there, okay? And that's how you do moving average. Any questions? Again, this is the most easiest and widely used because it's much easier to just calculate an average cost than have to keep track of every single batch of inventory that you have